Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It's so good to be back. It is so good to see everyone. Hope you're all doing great. For me, I will tell you what, I am severely sleep deprived in a big way. My poor daughter has been sick with RSV. For the past week, and it has been rough. Your boy has been barely sleeping, all right? So I'm running on about like maybe 5 hours of sleep last night and pretty much every day this past week. So it's been a rough one. So I hope you're all doing better than I am, to be honest with you. But it's good to be back. It's good to get in another live chat. I told you I wasn't going to be missing like we did with those gaps where we were having those big stretches of time in the last couple months where I wasn't streaming. So we are back as always. What can we talk about? Well, Call of Duty Vanguard has finally been officially revealed. That's right. We finally know exactly what this year's Call of Duty is. And basically the thing that brings up is we now have context around all three of this year's giant shooters. You know, we've been talking for a little while now. This year is kind of like the year of the FPS. It's the only time that I can think of ever that we've had Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Halo launching so close to each other. It's wild, right? Like these games are going to be probably all right around within a month of each other, right? Within a few weeks between each release. So we can talk about, you know, the numbers, how we think each game's going to do, how Call of Duty looks, what interest levels look like, you know, how is Halo going to stack up, and all of that. So we can talk about that. We can talk about Jeff Keighley is starting to tease some of the Gamescom announcements. It looks like Saints Row is going to finally be revealed. We were just talking on the last live chat. I was saying, man, I hope that game gets finally revealed. And it looks like it is. So the way this works, if this is your first time ever in my stream, this is a stream that's 100% driven by you, your comments, your questions. So make sure you start dropping as many of those as you can down into chat because you guys are the one, you know, who completely drive this stream. So we can talk about whatever you want, right? I think there's going to definitely be some questions around those FPS games, but it doesn't have to be about that. We can talk about anything that's on your mind in the video game industry. All right, I see we've got some questions already dropping. Let me start hitting those. Thanks everyone for hopping into the stream. Jose Contreras said hi right off the bat. What is up, Jose? Hamish Lee Ford here with the first question. Oh, and of course I had to get some cold brew coffee to help, you know, with the sleep deprivation. All right. Hamish Lee Ford kicking things off. Hey, Benji, hope you're doing good. Here's a fun question. Which game do you think has the most iconic intro? Ooh, that's an interesting question. For me, it has to be Skyrim. Skyrim's a good one. You know, for me, I literally almost tweeted this last night. I still think maybe the most epic intro I've ever seen in terms of like the title card drop. It's Ghost of Tsushima for me, I think. You know, that Skyrim one is probably, you know, more iconic simply because Skyrim is such a massive game, right? And everyone knows all the memes and everything of you're coming in, you wake up, you're on the carriage, you know, you're going to get executed. Like everyone knows that, even if you haven't played Skyrim, right? It's probably definitely more iconic. But for me, the like most epic, the one where it's like it's just shivers, is that title drop on Ghost of Tsushima. It is something else. I started the director's cut last night and I booted it up on PlayStation 5. And even though I've beaten the game, even though I've seen that sequence a bunch of times, I still got goosebumps watching that. It's incredible. If you've never seen it before, I recommend playing the game and experiencing that way, because that was the first way I ever got to experience it back when it launched. You know, had no idea something like that was about to happen. And when that scene happened, I was like, blown away. But if you don't think you're ever going to play Ghost of Tsushima, it's definitely still worth looking up online because it's an incredible sequence. But that Skyrim's a good choice. Honestly, the very beginning of Dead Space, I think, is a pretty great one. I know that's you know, one that's we're about to get the remake of, so I won't spoil it for anybody that wants to go in. You know, they've never played Dead Space and they plan on playing the remake. I won't spoil it, but let's just say you get thrown into the horror and the action like quick. There's like very little build up, right? Some horror games, they kind of slowly build you there. Dead Space is like right in your face. We're going to get scary like instantly. So I think Dead Space is another good one. They're definitely not quite as iconic, but you know, Skyrim's up there. Yeah, Skyrim is definitely up there. Matrix saying, the GOAT is back. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words, Matrix. Ashuneji saying, hey, what is up? Danger Man saying, sleepy Benji. Yes, very sleepy Benji today, for sure. Christopher Peralta here saying, hope all is well, mate. Looking fire. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not feeling fire, so thank you so much. Alan Larmy. Hope you can get some rest soon. Excited for Icky Island. Yes. Like I said, I booted up Ghost of Tsushima last night. I haven't gotten any of the Icky Island, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. It might be Ikai. I really don't know. I haven't played any of that yet, though. I really just kind of replayed through the intro again because I was probably going to replay through the game on New Game Plus. But yes, definitely going to. JCat, what is up, JCat? Okay, Danger Man. I wonder how Sledgehammer Games just are going to do a larger launch than World War II with a shorter dev time. You know, this is a great question. So we knew that this game, Vanguard, at one point was, you know, in a lot of development issues. Tom Henderson, right, who we've talked about on the chat before, super accurate leaker when it comes to especially like first-person shooter games, right? Battlefield 2042, he did all kinds of spot on, you know, reporting on that. Call of Duty Vanguard, you know, he actually is the first one who leaked the date. November 5th is when it's going to drop, and he just, you know, revealed that a little bit ago. So Tom Henderson is someone that I think we can say is very trustworthy, especially when it comes to this stuff. You know, I don't know about his track record outside of brands like Battlefield and Call of Duty, but with this stuff, clearly Tom knows what he's talking about. And he said that, you know, when he saw this game about, I think he said it was like 4 or 5 months ago or something like that. He said it was in like rough shape. And then before the reveal, he saw it again, and he said that they had improved it like 100-fold. Basically, Danger Man, what it sounds like, the way that Activision's pulling this off is they're throwing bodies at it. I don't know if you've seen, but a report just came out. We kind of knew that this was what was going on back when Activision announced that Toys for Bob was also becoming a support studio for Call of Duty, but they actually came out and confirmed every single development team within Activision, not Blizzard, but Activision, every single one of them is making Call of Duty, which is just insane, right? It's truly become a Call of Duty factory right now. I don't know that that's going to be a permanent thing, but right now Activision feels that the brand's so big and they need so many resources to keep Call of Duty afloat that they're just throwing bodies. So Danger Man, basically, I think the only way Sledgehammer was able to pull this off, getting this game to launch in any good state, is strictly because they're getting so much support. You know, Treyarch is making the zombies mode for this game, so it's not even Sledgehammer making that. You know, they're just making the multiplayer and the campaign, and it sounds like they have other support studios that are also helping them with that. So it's the only way, right? Without all of those resources getting pulled in, I don't think it would have happened. You know, I think it would have come out, but it would have been probably in a disastrous state because Tom said it was in rough shape about 4 or 5 months ago. But they have so many people working at the game now, it's crazy. Shiva here, Shiva Sriram, I hope I'm saying your last name right. I apologize if I'm not. Hey Benji, best wishes for your daughter. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think the worst is definitely behind her. It's been a rough week. Like I said, she ran like 102-degree fever, you know, for days. I mean, like 5 days straight, coughing nonstop. We got her COVID tested, but she was negative on the COVID, but she did have RSV, but she's 3. So, you know, it's a little bit more dangerous for like infants. For her, it's just been a rough time, but I think the worst is behind her. Do you think Call of Duty games are going to be revealed this way from here on out? I guess the biggest game of the year doesn't need a long marketing cycle. Shiva, I think this year was probably a little bit later than normal because the game was in rough shape, right? Like I was just talking about Tom Henderson. I think we can basically take that as fact. And I think we also have evidence, not even just from Tom's leaking, but the fact that Activision has taken all of their teams and put them on Call of Duty. That kind of tells you that they thought they needed it, right? They didn't think they had any resources to spare. They needed everyone on Call of Duty, whether that's this year's Call of Duty, they're already working on next year's Call of Duty, Warzone, etc. So I think that this reveal probably was a little later than we should expect in the future, all the way in August, like kind of near the end of August. But definitely, you're right, Shiva, that Call of Duty doesn't need like a super long build-up. They used to reveal these games much earlier in the year. It used to be, if I remember right, like around May, I think that they would do the reveal. I could be wrong, but I think it was around there, May, maybe June. They don't need a super long ramp up, but I don't know that we can expect it this late, every year. Maybe more like June or July. They're still going to wait, but I think they are cramming this in kind of at the last second because they probably just didn't have the game in a revealable state. You know what I mean? But you're definitely spot on that a game this big doesn't need a massive marketing cycle. If you look back, remember Fallout 4, that game had a very short marketing window too, and it still went on to sell ginormous at launch, right? It was the biggest launch ever for a Bethesda game. It shipped something like 12 million units in its first day. So as long as it's a massive brand, it doesn't necessarily need a long build-up time. Every game's going to be a little different. But something like Call of Duty, yeah, you don't need a super long one. We just had 2 super chats. Let me hit those 2 super chats really quick. Plastic Hearts Podcast with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Plastic Hearts. So good to see you, man. Thanks for being in every chat. Benji Boy, continue straight killing it. Any movement on meeting with no taxation for the podcast? Can't wait to hear it. I don't know how much I can say about that. I don't want to say too much because I want to let him do his thing. I will say yes. That is gonna happen. Okay, I don't have a date for you, but yes, I'm gonna be on Sacred Symbols Plus, it looks like. So, which is really, really cool, right? I'm really excited to talk to them. I know that not everyone is a fan of Colin. I'm not going to make you choose if you like Colin or not. You can feel however you want about anyone, myself included, right? But I've listened to Colin for many, many years, back when he was on Kind of Funny and things like that. So I'm excited to talk to him. Yeah, I'm really excited that that he invited me on there. He's got a big platform, a huge podcast for PlayStation. So yeah, I'm going to be on there. Yep. I don't have a date for you. I don't know exactly when it's going to go down, but yes, it looks like I will be on Sacred Symbols Plus. Yep. Thank you for the super chat, Plastic Hearts. And I hope you guys are excited. A lot of people seemed really excited. Whenever I responded to him, he posted the tweet and he was like, yeah, let's get Benji on Sacred Symbols Plus. And I said, let's do it. And there was a lot of really nice comments. People really excited for me to be on there. So I'm excited. I'm glad he invited me. And yes, you can look forward to that. I don't know when. Probably sometime in the next month or so. But yes, it is going to happen. Yep. Jason Som, what is up, Jason? Thanks so much, man. Jason with a 10 super chat. Thanks so much, Jason, man. That is really kind of you. Been a while since I caught you live. Do you think Call of Duty will have a big change / addition coming maybe next year or the future? Keep up the awesome content. Thank you so much, Jason. Thanks for being in the chat. And thanks for the super chat, man. It's super kind of you. So next year's Call of Duty is going to be a monster, right? Vanguard, I think, is turning out to be better than we kind of thought it was going to be a few months ago. I mean, 20 maps at launch is crazy nowadays, right? Like, how many games come out with 20 maps day one? Like, that kind of floored me. Whenever I saw that, 20 maps on day one, that is wild. So I think that helps the game a lot. Now, obviously, if the game plays terrible or, has a horrible campaign, that's still going to impact Vanguard a lot. But I mean, 20 maps, that's nice. That's a lot of variety. I know only 16 of those are for like the core mode that everyone's familiar with. and then there's 4, I think, for the new 2v2 mode. But the big thing for Call of Duty, honestly, is that next year is going to be the sequel to Modern Warfare 2019, which is the fastest selling Call of Duty game of all time. That game sold over 30 million units in less than a year. It was something like 9 months. It sold over 30 million, which is absurd, right? And it's way higher than that now because the legs have been incredible. So you're basically going to get the sequel to the biggest, fastest selling Call of Duty ever. I expect that thing to be a mammoth. Now, in terms of like what I think they might do new there, I'm not sure. It's going to be modern, which is, I think, a good thing for the franchise. We've had a lot of Call of Duties recently that are kind of like, older in setting. Not all of them. We've had other ones that aren't, but we just had Cold War, which was, it's not super old, but it was set obviously during that Cold War-ish time period. You had World War II that's was just a couple years ago. Now you're getting another World War II game with Vanguard. So I think having a modern setting, and then, look at how much excitement there is over Battlefield 2042 now that it's going modern again. So I think that's good for it. I think people really loved Modern Warfare 2019, so Infinity Ward's name attached to it is going to be really, really big. I'm sure they will do some new stuff, but I'm not 100% sure exactly. It's a hard one to say, Jason. Maybe more destruction, and one thing I've been thinking, next year's Call of Duty might be the first year where Call of Duty goes next gen only. And when I say next gen, you know what I mean. Xbox Series X and S and PS5 for the campaign. If you remember, they did that with Black Ops 3, I think it was, where the multiplayer was still cross-generation, but to play the single player, it was only on the new consoles. So they could kind of push that campaign, make the graphics better, that kind of stuff, do bigger things. I would not be surprised if you see them do that same thing with Modern Warfare 2. I could totally see them taking the campaign, pushing it to the limits, get the best ray tracing they can. If you want the campaign, you got to buy it on the new consoles. But multiplayer still being cross-generation. Don't be surprised if you see that. I actually really think there's a good chance of that. All right, man. Thanks so much for that super chat. Thanks. All right. Back to your free questions. King of the Dry Bones, thoughts on Lego Star Wars possible sales? This is a great question. That game, we just found out we're going to see more of it on Gamescom. Lego Star Wars is a bit weird to me because there has been so many Lego Star Wars games. But on the flip side, King of the Dry Bones, there has been actually a bit of a gap since we've gotten like some of these new Lego games. I think it could do really well, actually. I really think it could. Because like I said, it's been a while. There's not a ton of family-friendly games on the market that are not Nintendo, right? Of course, there's some. You got Minecraft, you got Roblox, you got things like that. But really, Nintendo's the one serving that market. And there's not a ton coming out that, adults can play. And you can also play it with your kids, right? There's just not a ton of that being made. So that helps it. It's a non-Nintendo game. So PlayStation and Xbox communities that want to get games that are good for their kids. So yeah, King of the Dry Bones. I actually think it can do pretty well. I don't know an exact number for you, but I think the fact that it's been a bit of a gap since there's been some of these Lego games, there's been a bit of a gap for Star Wars. I expect it to do well. I'll put it that way. I don't know that it's going to be like this ginormous success, but I think it'll be successful, yeah. Highlander, oh no, Highlander001, I am in the hospital and was worried I would miss your stream. Highlander, I hope you are okay. I hope you're okay, Highlander. Thoughts with you, Highlander. Everyone give some encouragement to Highlander. Thanks for making the stream, even though you're in the hospital. Holy cow, I hope you're doing well. I hope whatever's going on, you get a really fast recovery. We're all rooting for you, Highlander. And I hope the stream gives you some entertainment while you're there, right? Hopefully it makes the hospital stay a little bit better. But we're all pulling for you, Highlander, to have a quick, safe visit. Silence PP7. Benji, what do you think of the Black Panther expansion for Avengers? Is it moving the interest needle at all for Crystal Dynamics? Oh, this is a great question. And other than Spidey, which character should they focus on next? Silence PP7, this is actually a great answer. Or a great question. I have seen more discussion on Avengers than I've seen probably since launch, to be honest, around Black Panther. I've actually seen a lot of people tweeting about it. Now, is that translating to sales of the game? Is that translating to people, buying, DLC for the game, microtransactions, etc.? I don't have near enough info on that sort of thing. I just, there's no real info out on that. There hasn't really been any big boosts in charts or anything that I've seen. There could be some to come, but I would definitely say Sounds PP7 that interest is higher than it was in the, basically since launch. I don't think any of the other add-on characters drove as much discussion as Black Panther has. I'll say that. Spider-Man should be pretty big. I think the problem with this game still is people just don't love the actual game, right? Like, even though Black Panther, from what I've heard, has done pretty well, a lot of people still just don't really like the Avengers game. I liked the campaign, but I didn't like anything after that, right? I've talked about that before on the stream. I actually had a lot of fun playing just straight through the campaign like it was a single player thing and then being done with it, right? Like, I did not get into, I'm going to grind these characters out and level them up after the game and stuff. That part to me just wasn't engaging. I've heard that Black Panther's done well. I don't know how many more characters you're going to get after Spider-Man. I don't know if they've announced any, but to be honest with you, Spidey could be the last one, depending on if Black Panther and Spidey are successful, okay? So I'll put it that way. Those two need to be big hits. They need to drive sales. They need to drive engagement. If those two do really well, I think you might see them add a few more characters after that. But if neither one of these really move the needle, that might be it. They might just move on and do something else and kind of be done with Avengers. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Christopher Peralta says Halo 4's title card was pretty dope. Yep, that was a good one too. Yes, I agree with you. Just replayed through Halo 4 recently, and it was good, honestly. Halo 4 has a great campaign. I remember that I enjoyed Halo 4 back in the day. Like, the campaign. I hated the multiplayer for Halo 4. Like, I completely hated it. And this was coming from someone that adored Halo multiplayer for 2, 3, Reach. But man, I hated Halo 4's online. But I hadn't played it in forever. And I just recently replayed through that campaign, and it is good. I mean, Halo 4 has a great campaign, to be honest with you. I think it's one of the best. I think Halo 4 is one of the best campaigns in all the franchise. Now, the actual Prometheans, I still, even replaying it, didn't think were that fun to fight. So that is a big, I would say miss for it. They're okay, but I don't think they're as fun to fight as the Covenant are. But the actual, like, story I thought was really cool. A lot of the setting was really cool. 5 was definitely a big step down, though, from 4, in my opinion. Big step down, especially narratively. All right, I think we just had a super chat drop. Let me hit that super chat. Thanks for a good turnout today, everybody. Highlander001 with a 10 super chat. Holy cow, Highlander. Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's while you're in the hospital, right? Holy cow, Highlander. Thank you so much. Positive thoughts to your daughter. Streaming my Xbox games to my Tab S7 makes the time go by. One nurse loves playing Zuma. Xbox and Samsung should pay me. JCat best mod on YouTube. Thank you so much, Highlander. That's super kind of you. I'm glad to hear. Yeah, streaming Xbox to your S7. That's very cool. That's very, very cool, right? Big shout out to Microsoft. They keep improving that streaming service. And yes, we all appreciate JCat here. JCat is awesome. JCat's been a supporter like basically since day one, and then volunteered to help moderate the chat. So shout out to JCat. JCat is awesome. And thank you for that super chat, Highlander. I'm glad that the streaming's helping you. All right. This is a great question here. The Deadly 8. Hello there, Benji. With the Delta variant rising, is it safe to say there will not be a digital E3 2022 with big announcements? Could publishers announce their games on their own terms because of Delta? Yeah, I'll tell you what. This Delta thing is just crazy, right? Like, wow. At least here in the US, it is exploding. I mean, it's worse now than it was last year during this time. I don't know about anyone else, but besides the sleep deprivation, it's man, it's getting exhausting. Just dealing with all of this, right? Just nonstop, just keeps going and going, and it seems like there's like no end in sight. I work retail, so for me, you know, I'm like exposed all day, every day to hundreds and hundreds of people, and so far I've been good. So far, you know, I've been lucky. But who knows, right? Luckily, I'm vaccinated, and that seems to help. But it does seem Delta is getting past vaccines more than previous strains. So fingers crossed, everything holds up good. But yeah, this Delta, it's doing a number. You know, it's interesting because we talked about with the movie industry that Delta does seem to be having an impact. However, you know, Free Guy's performing really well, right? Well, it's doing really well for a pandemic movie, put it that way. Pre-pandemic, it's still doing good. It wouldn't look like the home run it does look during the pandemic, right? But there is still signs of life, even with the pandemic in the movie industry. So that is encouraging for video games, which I know are something you can play at home. But what I mean is that, I mean production, right? That if movies are still getting made, if people are still filming movies, but we're also seeing delays for stuff like Venom. So in terms of E3 2022, that's still far enough out that I think, I mean, because we're talking almost a year, I would say it's far enough that they could at least start to do some sort of pre-planning, hoping things are good. However, if they're not better by very early next year, right? Because these things take a long time to plan. You know, you've heard Microsoft, for example, talk about a lot of times it takes them like 6 months to plan a show, right? Like they start planning out E3 really right at during the holiday season, right after holidays, they start building towards that E3 show. And then you've heard Phil talk about how like right after E3 winds down, they already start thinking about things like what they're going to show at Gamescom, what they're going to even show at the Game Awards, which is at the very end of the year. So it takes like at least 6 months for like these big shows. So put it this way, Delta and COVID and all of this stuff, it needs to be in a very good place by early 2022, or else, yeah, I say it's probably not going to go down in terms of like an in-person event. Maybe some sort of digital thing like they did this year. But in terms of will E3 be back, people going there, people flying in from all over the world, the COVID has to be way down by the very beginning of the year. That's really all it comes down to. If we get to like January and it's still just ginormous cases, it's not going to happen in person. Maybe they will if you have a vaccine card, but even then, I don't know if enough people would be able to fly in from around the world, right? Because there's all kinds of travel restrictions. So that's what it's going to come down to. Keep an eye on those cases in like January. If they're high, not going to happen. If they're low, then they can plan on doing it. Okay, I think we just had a super chat. We did. Plastic Hearts Podcast with your second super chat. Thank you so much, Plastic Hearts, with a $4.99 super chat. Oh, man, this is a great question because I didn't really comment on it online. Did you have a perspective on the Fortnite imposters / Among Us drama? My thoughts are it's not surprising because look at what Fortnite is, right? Like Fortnite kind of exists because PUBG, right? Like I know they're different. I'm not sitting here telling you that, oh, you know, Fortnite's a straight rip off of PUBG, but the reality is like PUBG is what made this whole thing popular, this battle royale, this modern version of what we think of it. And, you know, Fortnite was a game that had nothing to do with battle royale, wasn't going to be anything like this. Fortnite or PUBG came out, was a giant success. Epic was like, we can make a version of this that's different, that we think will be successful, and the rest is history, right? So we already know Epic is like not above basically taking ideas from other people, or at least spinning them off and making their own versions. So am I surprised that they did this? Not at all. Like I said, after what we've seen with what Fortnite itself is, it shouldn't be surprising to anyone that Epic's going to do that again. In terms of like ethically, do I think it's okay? Do I think it's bad? Modes are a weird thing. and I haven't seen how much of a ripoff it is. I'll just be honest with you. It's one of the reasons why I haven't commented about it on Twitter or anything, is because I haven't done like a ton of research in terms of like how exactly does this play compared to Among Us. But I think like a game mode is kind of a hard thing to like. I mean, people are gonna borrow from that, right? I mean, look at Quake and all the shooters after that, and Doom that took influence from those, right? Like, it's kind of how it works. So, again, I don't want to speak out of turn. If this is like literally a straight up ripoff, then, you know, it's a little crappy, especially for a giant company like Epic compared to a very, very small company like the ones that are developing Among Us. But I'm not too surprised by it. I think the better thing would have been if they had some kind of partnership, right? I think you saw the social media representative for that team. I don't remember their name. They're prevalent on Twitter, but I don't remember their name. I think they tweeted out something like it would have been nice if we could have like worked together on this. That would have been way cooler, right? If they would have done, look at how many skins from other games and everything that Fortnite brings in, like tons, right? Fortnite has Halo skins, they have Nintendo skins, they have PlayStation skins. It definitely would have been a lot cooler if they did a mode like this, but then they also had like Among Us skins, and then, you know, the dev teams could have got exposure, you know, for their game. They could have got some revenue from it. I think that would have been a way, way cooler thing to do from Epic. Epic still gets their boost of having an Among Us type mode. The original team that really is what made this would also get that bump, get that some of that money out of it too. I think that would have been a lot better, right? Do your mode and have like an Among Us tie-in with skins. That would have been the way better way to do it. But that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's a little out of my lane, you know, but kind of my thoughts off the top of my head. You Vice, hey, what's your thoughts on upcoming major FPS games like Battlefield 2042, Call of Duty Vanguard, and Halo? Yeah, so that is my thumbnail. Here's the thing. Which one's going to sell the most? It's going to be Call of Duty, right? It's going to be Call of Duty, in my opinion, because it's Call of Duty like every year. Matt Pescatella put out a tweet, and basically he showed like how every year for the last like 10 years, Call of Duty is the #1 selling game in NPD for the year, except for the year Grand Theft Auto 5 launched. But like outside of GTA 5, it's literally like always Call of Duty. So you have to assume it's yet again going to be Call of Duty. However, I do want to say a few things. First of all, the social metrics online are not that strong. Just being honest. Now, are they terrible? No. But they're also not blowing me away. Like when you look at the numbers it's doing on Twitter, when you look at the numbers it's doing on YouTube, still very high, right? Numbers that 99% of games would want. But by Call of Duty standards, they're not massive. So I do think that this year's Call of Duty is going to sell less than Cold War, which I don't know if that's super shocking to people, but I do. I don't think Vanguard's going to sell as much as Cold War is. So I expect that to be down compared to that. Battlefield 2042, to me, is probably going to be the second best seller of this bunch. And I think it's going to be actually potentially fairly close. Now, we had 1 year where they were super close, right? It was when Infinite Warfare and Battlefield 1 came out. Those games on the NPD charts were only one placement apart at the end of the year, right? That's it. They were one place apart. It looks like my stream's buffering. Hope everyone is able to see me. Hopefully it's holding up. Hopefully the stream's holding up. I should be on a wired connection. Let me double check something. Yeah, I am wired. But for some reason, I'm buffering. Hopefully you can see me. I'm going to keep going, and if it crashes, the stream crashes. But I'm getting errors. Hopefully you guys can see me. I always have these issues, but hopefully you guys can see me. Okay. I'm going to finish this question up, and then we'll see where we're at in terms of the stream. So Battlefield 2042... yes, I expect it to be strong, way higher than Battlefield 5, way, way, way higher than Battlefield 5. Is it going to hit Battlefield 1 numbers? I'm not positive. I'm not sure if it's going to hit Battlefield 1 type numbers. Battlefield 1 was massive. It could, though, and it could even be bigger. You know, I think Battlefield's the wildest card of this bunch in terms of how it sells. I think it has the biggest range of its top end could be really high or it could be just okay, but it's going to crush Battlefield 5. I basically have like zero questions on that. In terms of Halo Infinite, I'm expecting Halo Infinite to sell the least of these three by a large margin. You know, I've mentioned this on a previous chat. Expect the people that like to like troll and, you know, cause drama on Twitter and forums and that kind of thing. Expect them to have an absolute field day with Halo Infinite, okay? They're going to be going around. They're going to be posting nonstop. Halo's a bomb. No one cares about Halo. Because here's the thing. Halo Infinite might sell less units than Halo 5 did. And Halo 5 sold a lot less units than than Halo did at its peak. There's a prime reason for that, though. And this is going to be one of the things I'm going to have to battle through whenever I'm trying to explain what's really going on in the industry this year. I'm already preparing myself for it because I know I'm going to have to do it. Halo is able to be accessed in so many ways that deter you from buying the game. So, if you just want that campaign experience, if you are a campaign single player of Halo, and you're also a Game Pass subscriber, which by then they're probably going to be close to 30 million subscribers or right around there, you can just play it through Game Pass. You do not need to buy the game. In terms of multiplayer, you don't even need Game Pass. It's free to play. You do not need to spend $1 on it except for things like battle passes, right? But to just access the multiplayer, you don't got to spend a dime. The only people I think that are going to be going out and buying, like actually spending their money and buying Halo Infinite, are hardcore Xbox fans, you know, that want Halo, or they're big Halo fans, big Xbox fans, big Halo fans that just want it in their collection. They want to own that game. Those people are going to buy it. And the other people that are going to buy it is Steam, because a lot of people like to own their games on Steam, even if it's on Game Pass. We have ample evidence of that through things like Sea of Thieves, Master Chief Collection, etc. Forza Horizon 4. All of these games have sold extremely strong on Steam, even though they're on Game Pass. So that's really the bulk of your sales. Hardcore Xbox and Halo fans that want to own it, and Steam. Outside of that, your more casual Halo fans, your people that are just Game Pass subscribers, your people that just want to mess with the multiplayer and see what it's like. None of them are buying the game, right? So that's going to be a huge detriment in terms of sales. However, the thing that we need to keep an eye on for Halo to truly judge if it's a success has nothing to do with sales. It has to do with player engagement, right? How many people are playing this game? That's really what it's going to come down to, because it, of course, has a battle pass, right? There's going to be seasons. That's how it makes its money. That's exactly how Warzone makes its money for Call of Duty and Apex Legends and Fortnite, etc. So that's the thing to keep your eye on for Halo. Now, how many units it sells, how many people are playing this game at launch, how many people are playing this game in a month, and how many people are playing this game 6 months to a year later, right? So I just want to put that out there. That's one thing that people really need to consider when the sales numbers come out for Halo, because I don't think they're going to be impressive. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not expecting high sales for Halo. So in terms of ranking of sales, I'm going to go Call of Duty, Battlefield, Halo. In terms of players, I could actually see it being, man, Halo's going to be high. I'm telling you, it's going to be high. That free-to-play is huge, especially on PC. So I don't know exactly how players' numbers shake out, but Halo's going to sell the least by far. But that doesn't mean that Halo's like a bomb or anything. Oh, lost pretty much like all our viewers. But on my end, it says excellent connection, so I don't know. I'm going to keep going. I don't know if anyone's watching, but there's a bunch of questions in chat, so a lot of people come and watch this stream after it's over. So I'm just going to keep going through questions. So whether people are here live or not, I think it's still recording. I think it's still going. So we're going to keep going. On my end, it says excellent connection now. All right. We had a super chat here, a 5 from Timmer72299. Quake Remaster revenue expectations, plus have you seen my ZeniMax Bethesda history file, plus the game budget's other info file? What are your thoughts? Ooh, Timmer. I actually haven't seen that file. I know I've seen you tweet a bunch about how you're working on the history of ZeniMax and Bethesda, how you're actually writing a book, I think, right, Timmer? Aren't you writing a book about ZeniMax? So I see your tweets on that. I haven't seen the file, though. So, I mean, I've seen each individual one whenever you tweet things like that out, but I haven't looked at the overall file, so I'll have to look at that. In terms of Quake Remaster, I've seen a lot of interest around it, right? Like, I've actually seen a lot of people saying that they're grabbing this on PlayStation, on PC. It seems to be a really, like, good remaster. The feedback I'm seeing from people playing it are saying it's really good. I've never even played a single Quake game, I don't think. I could be misremembering, but I don't remember really ever playing Quake, so I'm definitely going to jump in on Game Pass. I think these games are on Game Pass. I think it's going to do well, actually. Yeah, I think there's definitely evidence it's doing well. So if it performs good for them, that just reinforces my belief that you're going to see Quake come back, that you're going to get that big rebooted Quake game. I still think that's going to happen. Yeah, I definitely think so. But thanks for the super chat, Timmer. In terms of exact revenue, I don't know. I'll just say success. I think the Quake Remaster is definitely going to be a success. I've seen a lot of buzz about it on Twitter. Like a lot. And when I say a lot, obviously this isn't going to be like a Mass Effect Legendary Edition in terms of sales. You guys know what I mean. Successful, though. Successful for what it is. Miles Morales. Monolith production has been silent since 2017. I know. It's wild. Don't you think by 2022 they should have something ready to release or show? Or would WB keep it to 2023 because their 2022 lineup is packed? It's a great question, Miles. My main thoughts here is that Monolith, I don't think, is just making another Shadow of Mordor / war game. Because I think that would have gotten out, yeah, sooner. Like, I think they would have shown it by now. Because like you said, since 2017, I mean, we're talking like 4 years. And they don't even have anything announced. So I know, obviously, that the pandemic has affected development, right? So I'm not saying I'm not shocked that this game's not out yet. But I'm surprised Monolith doesn't even have anything announced. They don't even have a game that's announced yet. So whatever it is still quite a ways off. So if it was just another Mordor game, right, like the third one in that series, I would think that would have at least been announced. Like, kind of crazy that they're probably going to go, you know, as long as I mean, if it doesn't get announced this year, they could go 5 years without having a game announced. Seems weird to me for just a sequel to a franchise. So that says to me it's something different. It could still be Lord of the Rings, but I don't think it's just another Mordor game, right? I think if it is still a Lord of the Rings game, it's going to be something quite different than that, because otherwise the gap is just too big. And I don't think it's 2022. Yeah, I think it's going to be 2023. That is my guess. Because like I said, 2022 is so stacked for WB. They're going to want to space some things out. And the fact it's not even announced yet, probably 2023 for that one. Yep, that's what I think. Yoda Soda, how longer do you think Avengers Live Service will survive? Black Panther didn't bring that many players back, and their budget seems to be slashed too. Yeah, Yoda Soda, that's what we were kind of talking about earlier. I don't think it keeps going past Spider-Man if Black Panther and Spidey don't bring in big revenue and numbers. I think that's probably the end of it. Yep, that would be my guess. Because, I mean, those are like two big characters to add too, right? Like Black Panther, there's no Black Panther game. So this is like the first way you can really engage with him in terms of like a AAA game. So that's big. And then Spidey, we all know how big Spidey is. So if neither one of those characters can drive engagement and players and things like that, that, in my opinion, will be the end of it. Those will be the last two characters you get. Unless they're successful. That's what it's going to come down to. But yeah, in terms of how much longer it keeps going, lives or dies by that, in my opinion. Sounds PP7, with Quake and Power Slave getting remasters / ports on modern platforms, what other classic FPS games could we see? Ooh, that's tough because a lot of them have come back. We've had, you know, Doom. We've had Quake. Classic FPS. We already have Halo. You know, Halo is pretty classic when you look at some of them, right? Some of those games are pretty old, but those already got updated with Master Chief Collection. That game Black, people liked. Maybe they could remaster Black. Maybe. Half-Life, right? That would be big. That would be huge. Y'all, if they like... I know that there has been ones, but Half-Life 2, like if they remade Half-Life 2, I don't think there's been any kind of remake of that or remaster, right? It's still just the OG Half-Life 2. That would be massive if they remastered that. Yeah, I don't know. Those are a few off the top of my head. A remake of the original Killzone would be pretty hype, in my opinion. Or Resistance. Killzone or Resistance would be sweet to come back. SOCOM. SOCOM's third-person shooter, but still. Those are just some. And what genre could we see studios pull from for modern ports of classic games? What other genre could we see, classic games come back? You're seeing a lot, right? You're seeing a lot across the board. I think anything's up for grabs. I think any genre. We're seeing that these remakes and remasters are super popular. So, any. I don't think any genre is, like, immune to it, except for sports. Sports games, not so much. Unless you did something like NBA Street or something like that, right? But regular sports games, no. But outside of that, I think any of them. You know what? Here's an off-the-wall one. I would like to see a remaster of the original Forza Horizon. That game still looks good. It's not super old, but that game still to me is like one of the better ones. Like I love the original Forza Horizon. I'm not saying an all-out remake, but maybe improve things like the draw distance and, you know, maybe pack the foliage a little bit more and like do some cool little upgrades that aren't a ton of work. I'd love to see Forza Horizon. That's just an off-the-wall pick, but I'd love to see that get some. Chris Jenkins, with Call of Duty date known, do we get Halo date reveal before or at Gamescom? It's going to be at Gamescom. And is it late November? Yes to both. This is not insider information. This is just, it's got to be. Literally has to be. You're going to get the Halo Infinite release date at Gamescom. It's got to happen. It's too close. I mean, Halo launches, we talked about this before. We're at the very end of August. September, October, November. This game's going to be out within 3 months. You need a date. You can't wait on a date anymore. You're getting Halo Infinite's date at Gamescom. I'd be willing to bet on it. Put it this way. If we don't get a date at Gamescom, it would say to me this game might be delayed, which I know sounds wild, and I'm someone that's not predicting that it will get delayed at all. So, you get what I'm saying. I definitely think you're getting that date at Gamescom. If it wasn't there, I would go from thinking there's like no way this game's going to get delayed to being like, oh, this might actually get delayed. And I don't think it's going to. But yeah, so Gamescom, you get the date, and it's going to be late November. Yes, it's going to be late November. I've seen a lot of people posting it's going to be on the anniversary of Halo. Could be, which I think is like the 15th or 16th or 19th, somewhere around there. It's going to either be right around that or it's going to be Black Friday week. One of those two. I don't think they push it out to December. They could, but I don't think so. I think they want it there in time for Black Friday. So that's my prediction. Either on the anniversary of Halo or Black Friday week. Pieter, Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Remake sales expectations, tens of millions of units. Tens of millions, plural. Definitely over 10 million. Could even see this hit up into those 20s. It could even be a 20 million seller, to be honest with you. Depends, A, on how good of a remake it is. You know, if it's not a very good remake, then I would pull back. If it's a really good remake, or remaster / remake, tens of millions. Cameron Swear, thoughts on the top 30 in Japan being claimed by Switch games 2 weeks in a row. Just crazy the change in Japan over the last decade. Yeah, Cameron, you know what's wild, and we've talked about this before. PS5 is actually doing like decent in Japan in terms of hardware sales. It's ahead of PS4 launch aligned. It's not doing like massive numbers by PlayStation standards, right? It's not doing anything like, you know, what we saw from some of the previous generations out of PlayStation, but it's also doing, and I'm just talking hardware, in my opinion, not terrible. I mean, it's ahead of PS4 launch aligned, but the problem, it's moving like no software, which is weird, right? How is it selling so much hardware and moving, I mean, like no software? Barely selling software. It is a super weird thing. Some people say it has to do with scalping and sending these consoles actually to other markets that aren't inside Japan. I have no idea. I'm not an expert on Japan. I check the Japanese charts every single week, but there's people that know way more about Japan than I do, right? Like, I consider myself more of a specialist in terms of the sales side of things when I talk about the US market in particular, and then like, you know, global shipment numbers and things like that. But like in terms of that Japanese market itself, I'm not an expert. I'd say I know more than the average gamer, but I'm not an expert. But yeah, PlayStation's moving like no software, like none. And Xbox, I mean, it's Xbox. It's actually doing good there compared to the Xbox One in terms of hardware sales. But again, we're talking overall very low numbers. So it's just Switch domination. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. PlayStation, I don't think you're going to see really start to take off and find big success there until it starts to get stuff like Final Fantasy, a Monster Hunter game, you know, stuff like this. Right now, in terms of like, there's not a ton releasing on PS5 that are like huge for the Japanese market, right? It needs some of those types of games. It needs some Final Fantasies, it needs some Monster Hunters, etc. I'm curious to see how Tales of Arise does, right? Let's look at, I'm very curious to see how Tales of Arise performs on PS5. Shiva, do you think next year's Call of Duty is next gen only? I mentioned this earlier, Shiva. I think the campaign might be, but I don't think the multiplayer is. Multiplayer, I still think they keep cross-gen, but campaign, I think there's a good chance that the campaign, and again, they've done this before. Black Ops 3, I think it was, where there was no campaign on the last gen. That's kind of what I think Modern Warfare 2 is probably going to be. Probably going to be next gen only for the campaign. Multiplayer still cross-gen, and then whatever's after Modern Warfare 2, that'll be the first year there's nothing on the old consoles, only on the current ones. DangerMan1337, I wonder how Modern Warfare 2 will sell. 30 million in 6 months. Could, yeah, it could. I mean, it really could. It sold over 30 million, I think, in like 9 months or something like that. It was less than a year. So for the sequel, yeah. 30 million in 6 months isn't crazy to me at all. It's not crazy to me at all, which sounds nuts, but y'all, yeah, I really think it could happen. Ubi, maybe not the game for this chat. Every game's the game for this chat. Don't worry about that. Like I said, my thumbnail and my titles have like a topic, but it's really just whatever the big news is. You guys can ask me about anything. We can talk about anything video games. So any game is up for grabs. Sales expectations for Mario Party Superstars. Well, GameStop came out with their most pre-ordered games list for Switch, and I believe that was number 3. So pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good, I would say. I don't expect that to be at the same level as Super Mario Party was, right? Like the first Mario Party for Switch, which has been a colossal seller. Like it's like one of the best-selling, it might even be the best-selling Mario Party game ever. I'd have to go back and look. But if it's not number 1, it's close to it, and it might even be number 1. I'm not expecting that out of Mario Party Superstars, but super popular. Yeah, I think it'll be good. I mean, like I said, the only ones it was behind at GameStop, at least, which GameStop's just one retailer, but it's at least a look into the market. The only games it was behind were Metroid Dread and Pokemon Diamond Pearl double pack. So, I mean, looking good at least in terms of pre-order. So I think it'll do well. Just not as good as Super Mario Party. I think we had 2 super chats. Split End 89 with a 2 super chat. Busy as crap. Checking in on my boy. Stay awesome. Thank you so much, Split End. It's all good that you are busy. Totally understandable. Thanks for popping in for just a second, Split End. You're the man. And thanks for the 2 super chat, buddy. And Benji here, always in the chat, Benji, with a 10. Hi, Benji. Is Sony testing the waters with Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut? There seems to be very limited PS5 improvement, but there is the extra content. Should we expect the same for other titles? Yeah, this is interesting, right? I'm going to be perfectly honest with you all here. I don't think Sony should have charged $10 for that upgrade. It's pretty minimal. I'm not talking about the Icky Island expansion. That is totally, from everything I've read, completely worth the price of admission, right? It's a nice, beefy, expansion. But the actual $10 upgrade, that I don't think that should have been a thing. It's, put it this way, it's not near as extensive as something like what Spider-Man Remastered was, right? Where they went in and added a bunch of ray tracing, and they even changed things like character models, and like that was a lot bigger than what Ghost of Tsushima has added in terms of like that actual, I'm strictly talking about the paid upgrade part, not the Icky Island expansion. Trust me, that wasn't a sucker punch choice. They don't set the price. Sony does. That is fully a Sony choice. I don't think they should have charged for that one. I can kind of understand why they charge for certain upgrades. For example, Spider-Man. Of course, I'll always root for them to be free, right? Free upgrades are always better than paid upgrades, but I at least can understand charging for Spider-Man Remastered because, like I said, there was quite a bit of work that went into that in terms of what they changed. But Ghost, it's like not a lot, right? It's not a lot. They shouldn't have charged $10 for that, in my opinion. So will they do that for more games? I don't know. I think they're going to charge an upgrade for The Last of Us Part 2. I know there's that 60 FPS patch out. If you notice the wording that was used during that patch when it dropped, keep in mind, Naughty Dog said they were also looking at other things. Y'all, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if there's some kind of ray tracing upgrade that also gets added to The Last of Us in the future that's paid. Again, this isn't insider info, anything like that. I'm just saying if you look at the wording that Naughty Dog used, it sounded like they aren't potentially done with what they could be doing with The Last of Us Part 2. So I could actually see a director's cut of that too. Yeah. Yep. I could see a director's cut for The Last of Us Part 2. Don't be shocked. Do not be shocked. But I will say if they do charge for an upgrade on that, I hope it's more in line with what happened with Spider-Man Remastered than what happened with Ghost of Tsushima, right? Make it worth it. Do some ray tracing, do things like that. All right, we're going to go for about 15 more minutes, and then I'm going to call the chat. So I can start getting ready for work. Mayan 67. It's funny how war shooters keep flipping back and forth between World War I, II, Vietnam era, and modern future. Yeah, I think they do that to try to feel fresh. Doing different settings and trying to do different ones at different times, right? You don't want like Battlefield to be World War II and Call of Duty to be World War II at the exact same time. You want it to be a little different from each other. But I will say, I'm just being honest, I hope we don't get that many World War II games for a while after Vanguard. There was a gap for a while. Remember, there was like a million World War II shooters. Then there was like a bit of a gap. And then it felt fresh when World War II came back. But now we also have had a million more World War II shooters again in a short window between Wolfenstein, Battlefield, Call of Duty, doing multiple ones. I think I'm ready for another bit of a break on World War II after Vanguard. I mean, Vanguard's already being made, but after that, let's all agree to take a bit of a break from World War II. Unless you're doing something like Wolfenstein, where it's like an alternate history, like totally weird off the wall thing. But in terms of like a realistic, let's take a break. Let's take a break. Sal Saucy, do you think we're ever going to get a Call of Duty title ported or made for the Switch? Oh, that's a good question. Wow, that's a good question. I will say I don't expect any of these new ones to go to the Switch. For example, like Modern Warfare 2, like the sequel to 2019 Modern Warfare. Definitely. I mean, I don't think you're going to get those big new Call of Duties on the Switch. But I could see them remastering some of the older Call of Duties for Switch. I actually think there's a chance of that. The install base is massive. Definitely you could get some of those older Call of Duties running on Switch. I mean, for sure you could. It has enough horsepower to run some of the older ones. So I will say I'm not expecting any of the big ones like the upcoming, at least maybe until Switch 2. Like once the Switch is replaced, maybe. But the current Switch, I don't think it gets the next Modern Warfare, the next game after that. But potentially there is room there for some remasters on Switch, yeah. Mine67, Benji, do you expect the console install bases between PS5 and Xbox Series to be more like the 360 PS3 gen, where it will be more even? Yes, 100% yes. Yep. I don't know if it'll be like that exact ratio, like what we saw that generation, where they were like, I mean, a dead heat. You know, PS3 ended up slightly ahead, but it was like not by much, y'all. It's like by the skin of its teeth. It was ahead of 360 in terms of globally. They were very, very close to each other. I don't know that it will be that close again, because I am still expecting PlayStation 5 to outsell Xbox Series worldwide, but it's not going to look anything like this last gen was. I can tell you that. So Xbox Series is going to sell way above what Xbox One did. So, you know, it will be closer than last gen. I don't know that it will be as close as 360 PS3. My guess it will be like somewhere in the middle of that, right? Not the massive blowout that the Xbox One generation was, but not a dead heat like the 360 was, right? Somewhere right in between there is what I think, which is good, right? It'll be a successful generation for Xbox for sure. That there's zero doubt in my mind on that. Sounds PB7, are you excited for the Saints Row reboot that was teased? And should they return to Saints Row 2 style game? I'm ultra pumped, to be honest with you. That franchise has been like on the, I tweeted about it. It's actually been even longer than I thought. We haven't had a new mainline Saints Row since 2013. Now there's been remasters, remakes, and we had Saints Row Gat Out of Hell, which was like a standalone. It's not a true mainline Saints Row, right? It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like a spin-off, smaller thing in 2015. But we have not had a big mainline Saints Row, and it's been over 7 years, right, by the time this comes out. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. I thought Saints Row started to get a little too crazy once they started doing the superpowers and stuff like that. I kind of bounced out of the franchise at that point. I think it needs to be between like Saints Row 2 and 3. I do think the silliness sets Saints Row apart from Grand Theft Auto. So I think making it like too grounded is actually a mistake. Like, and I know Grand Theft Auto is out there too, but you know what I mean? It's trying to be, it's a satire story and stuff, but it's trying to be more of a realistic simulation type world. Saints Row, part of the fun of Saints Row is how silly it is. So I think doing stuff like superheroes is a little too out there, and some of the other stuff they did. I think somewhere right between 2 and 3 is the sweet spot, right? Some of the silliness and out there-ness of 3, but also not like too grounded. Somewhere in there. That's my thought. Thanks for a good turnout, everyone. Thanks for a good turnout. I don't think I'm going to be able to hit every question today, so I apologize, but I'm hitting as many as I can. Still going to be going for like another 10 minutes. Super chat just hit. Let me hit that super chat. Benji. 5 super chat. Benji, there is some chatter. Disney is trying to reclaim Spider-Man rights. Doesn't surprise me at all. If it happens, can we expect Spider-Man 2 going multi-plat? Would Microsoft Game Pass it? So, of course, there is these rumors floating around. Here's the thing. The one thing I can definitely shoot down, like there's no way this is going to happen. I saw one rumor out there that, oh, Disney's going to buy all of Sony just to get Spider-Man back. Y'all, there is no chance that happens. And when I say no, 0 chance that that happens. Sony has way too many businesses that Disney has literally no interest in whatsoever. All right, they're a giant company. You would be spending an enormous price tag to get a bunch of businesses. Disney doesn't want anything to do with that. However, Disney buying the movie side of it, right? Just Sony Pictures, that's not outlandish at all. Disney could absolutely afford them. I mean, they literally bought Fox. And B, yeah, you would get those Spider-Man rights back. Now, do I think they're going to buy Sony Pictures? I'm more leaning towards no. But it is not impossible by any means. Not at all. Especially because it's just a piece of the business, right? We know how it's harder to buy like a whole company in Japan, right? To like just go into Japan and, for example, buy Sony. It's pretty hard to do that. However, Sony wants to just sell a chunk of their company. That's actually not that hard, right? Sony can just be like, hey, Disney, if we can strike a deal, you're going to give us a bunch of money. Here's Sony Pictures. It's possible. I'm leaning towards no. Like I said, I don't think they're going to buy Sony Pictures, but it could happen. It's not impossible. But if they did that, would Spider-Man 2 go multi-plat? I don't think so. I don't think so because I think it's too important for Sony. It's like literally their best-selling exclusive. And they still want Insomniac to make that, which is first. I just can't see it, Benji. I can't see it. I think Spider-Man will be a permanent Sony exclusive. Even if Disney got the rights back, I don't think so. Which the rights in terms of the video games is already with Disney. But I know what you mean. Like if they had full control, right? Full control of the rights, including movie rights, would that push them more to make it multi-platform? I don't think so. I think that'll always be an exclusive. I saw right above that Anthony Johnson, big Halo announcement. What's the big announcement? What'd I miss? What's the Halo announcement? Check Twitter. I tagged you. Interesting. Concerns Halo. What is it? Oh, won't have campaign co-op at launch? Interesting. That's a pretty big deal, right? Sorry, I'm trying to find the tag. So it's no campaign co-op. That sucks. I wasn't going to play that campaign co-op, so I don't care, but it is a big deal. It is a very big deal. All right, I'm not seeing your tag. I'm sorry. I'm guessing that's what it's about, everyone. Is that right? So no Halo campaign co-op. It sucks. If you're asking me if I think it affects like sales or players or anything, no, not really at all. No Forge either. Wow, that's a bummer. Campaign co-op is one of those things that's going to get people salty. But in terms of like actually impacting player numbers, no. Nope. Won't have that much of an impact at all. But it does suck. Forge, I think, is also... it sucks. If you're asking me, do I wish that those were in there day one? Yeah. Absolutely. A lot of people do like to play Halo co-op. I just don't think it's a big enough deal breaker that suddenly people don't like play it. There's almost 0% chance of that, actually. Like almost none. But it's definitely a blow. Yeah, it's definitely a blow. Definitely a blow. But I would expect that to have less than a 5% impact in terms of total player numbers. Both of those things, by the way. If you add Forge and you add campaign co-op both missing, I don't even think you take a 5% hit on players. Mostly because multiplayer is free to play and because campaign's Game Pass. Like I said, the way to access Halo is so easy. Now, if neither one of those were there, right? Let's say you couldn't do either one of those. Like you had to buy Halo. Like you had to go out, you had to drop your $60. Then I think it would have a bigger impact. Yes. Yep. So if those parts of it were true, like you had to buy this game, missing Forge and missing co-op, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that having a sales impact where people wait until those are added in to buy the game. But in terms of like, it's so easy to access this game. It's literally free to play for multiplayer. And again, campaign is literally in Game Pass. It's not costing you anything to access those. I don't even think you take a 5% player hit. But it is unfortunate. Yes, it is definitely unfortunate news. For sure. Big news, though, for sure. Twitter is going to be up in arms about it. I can tell you that. Okay, I only have time to pull a couple more questions. We got 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. So let me pull a couple good ones and then we're out. A couple good ones and then we're out. I'm sorry for anyone whose questions I can't get to. I'm super sorry. Pieter here, Black Myth Wukong sales expectations. I will say it depends on if that game is actually what it appears to be. And I know that sounds weird, but it comes from a dev that most of us are not that familiar with. And I will be honest, a lot of what they show looks really impressive, but it also feels like a tech demo to me. If that game is actually what it looks like, I think it could be a big hit. It gets a lot of traction online, a lot of interest. I just don't know that Black Myth Wukong is actually going to be what it looks like. But if it is, I think it could sell well. Yeah, I think it could be a big hit. Like I said, there's some things about that game I have questions on. All right, like a couple of questions. I'm trying to pick them out. Danger Man says they think Suicide Squad by Rocksteady will be pushed to 2023. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me, actually, at all. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Here's the thing. I saw a thread get posted about this on Era, Reset Era. I actually think they kind of made a good point. They were like, Rocksteady made a mistake of choosing the Suicide Squad IP. I think that's kind of true. I really think it's kind of true. The first movie it did big at the box office, but it's not fondly remembered at all. And this second movie, yes, it's getting some traction on HBO Max, but the box office is a disaster. I mean, it's a disaster. So, I don't know that that's actually really being seen as a success. I know critically it's being seen as a success. And there was a box office insider person that claimed that HBO is happy with the amount of subs it's getting, which could be true, but I'm doubtful that that person actually knows that. So, I don't know. I don't know that Suicide Squad was the right choice there at all. We'll have to see, but yeah, I don't know. That brand does feel like it's not a great brand to attach yourself to, especially when it's been so long since you released the game, right? Like, it's been a long time since we've had a Rocksteady game. Ooh, I like this. Chris Jenkins saying a Turok remake. We were talking about shooters earlier. Yes, Turok. Bring Turok back. Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. JCat, what are your thoughts about the People Can Fly / Outriders Square Enix and royalty situation? And what do you think Square Enix has been flailing with its Western games recently? This is a great question, JCat. So, a couple things here. First of all, I saw a lot of people asking, how does People Can Fly not know how many games they've sold? And I commented on this and I said, I've had devs literally tell me, and this is a fact, I've literally gotten DMs from them saying they didn't know how many games they sold, like in terms of exact units, until I put the tweet out there, right? And it wasn't like I had inside info on the tweet. It's that a piece of PR comes out, I tweet that sales number, and sometimes, not every time, sometimes that's the first time a dev finds out how many units they sold. It's not super uncommon. Now, am I telling you that's a regular every single game case? No, but it's also not unheard of. The publisher is really the one typically who's going to have the most sales info, and then they communicate that, of course, to the developer. Now, the developer is going to have a really good idea about total player numbers, especially on an online game, because you have to connect to the servers and play the game. But how many of those are actual true units sold? You know, they don't always, sometimes they do, but they don't always have that number right off the bat, right? Just it completely depends on how the publisher works. Now, with royalties being attached, absolutely Square Enix should be giving them sales updates, right? So the fact Square Enix isn't providing them sales numbers is definitely, I would say, sketchy. Like, they should be doing that, right? Like, they should be communicating that to them. So even though it's not unheard of, a lot of times that's like with first party stuff I've noticed, right? Like some of the DMs I've gotten has been from first party teams. Again, not always, but with it being like a contract, right? You're not a team that's owned by Square Enix, right? You're making a game for Square Enix. They should absolutely be communicating that to them. And in terms of like the game itself, it had a good launch. The problem with Outriders is it seems like it had terrible legs, right? Outriders out the gate was big. I saw some people saying, oh, Outriders like bombed like immediately. That is literally not true. Like, it's literally not true. The game was on NPD in the top 5 2 months in a row, right? Its launch month was, I think, number like 4. And then the next month it was like actually went up because it came out at the very end of the month before that. It was up to like number 3. And then also on Steam, it had massive sales. In fact, it's still right now, as of August, one of the biggest launches of the entire year on PC. It was like 125,000 concurrent players or something. It's literally, I mean, one of the biggest of the entire year on PC. I think that's still higher than games like Resident Evil Village, for example. So out the gate, Outriders sold a lot. But the problem is, have you seen Outriders in any charts since then? That is the problem. So that could be where it's failing in terms of Square Enix's expectations, because they actually said it beat expectations early on. Like, they themselves said that in PR quotes. But if you notice, they haven't said anything since then. So Outriders appears to have been super strong out the gate and then had no legs. And so that's probably why the royalties aren't coming, is Square Enix probably forecasted higher sales for this game long term than what it's getting. So yeah, it sucks. And yeah, Square Enix, even though their Japanese sided development seems spot on, their Western studios their Western efforts, I would say, not going great. Not going great. Not going great at all. Okay. Is that it? I think I have to go. Homersley Ford said, Tom Warren says Microsoft is dropping bad news on Friday. Typical, usually. Yep. You usually, just to let you guys know, in any industry, whether it's games, movies, media, whatever, you drop bad news on Fridays. It tends to be the go-to because you're going into the weekend. People are actually less engaged online. They're distracted doing other things. Friday's your bad news day, because it's not in the week when people are focusing on things, talking about things. You have the whole week where you drop the bad news on a Friday. I mean, you see this in movies and stuff all the time. Bad news on a Friday. And Tuesday's going to be the release date. Yep. Tuesday's going to be the release date. Okay, I have to go. I wish I could go more. There's still a lot of questions I didn't get to today, and I apologize. If I did not get to your question today, save it for the next chat. We're going to be back next week. I'm not missing weeks anymore. Thanks for everyone that tuned in live. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. We've gone over 3,000 and then gone under 3,000 as people have unsubscribed. My battle with 3K has been a long one. We've now gone past 3,000 twice and then fell back under 3,000 because people unsubscribed to my channel. So push me over 3K. Okay. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. hit that like button so it helps the YouTube algorithm. Follow me on Twitter if you're not already. I'm Benji-Sales on Twitter. Hope you all had fun. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the super chats. Stay safe, play some games, and I will catch y'all either here in the next stream next week, or I will see you on Twitter. I might co-broadcast Gamescom opening night live. I'm not promising to that. I might have a live reaction, though, to Gamescom. Could happen. Okay, everyone? Peace. Bye. Have a great day. Have a great day. I will see ya. Adios. Bye. 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 Bye.